After that experience, I started going to church more often, and I was eventually baptized. I was baptized on Christmas Day 2006, and it was a special time for me to kind of start again, just make a fresh, clean start of everything. However, it wasn't as if everything changed straight away. My mindset was still needed a lot of working on. I still went into a destructive relationship. I went in and out of the church a few times. I got hurt in the church, and that's not a new story. Church is just filled with people, right? And people can offend and hurt each other, and it's a learning journey anyway. So I left that church. I went somewhere else. I met someone else who was also a terrible choice for myself. I left that church and started to kind of follow my old patterns a little bit. And then I ended up meeting a wonderful friend who's now my best friend. And we both kind of held each other's hands through some very tough times and went to some very outlandish churches that did and said things that I hadn't ever experienced before. But on the other hand, I saw things that I'd never experienced before, like healing in front of my eyes and uncontrollable laughter. And I had never experienced that. So this friend of mine, she moved down into the country, and she encouraged me to go visit her, and we would go visit this wonderful church who the people were so welcoming, and I was starting to finally feel warmed into churches again, because I had left and I had kind of carried a bit of bitterness with me as well. So we started going to this church, and I was at uni at the time. I decided to get my life on track and get a career. So I was studying teaching, and I ended up moving down there and living with her and finishing up my studies, correspondence. And we would visit different churches, but what we discovered was something much more special, and we started to kind of hold home church style meetings in our home where we would just cook lots of food and invite people over, and we would end up just having wonderful conversations and challenging each other and singing or worshipping or praying for each other, and it just seemed like a much more organic and natural environment. And then we would obviously go visit some churches sometimes, but that time of learning and growing a relationship with God and with each other was so valuable. And still, I had decided on my own behalf that I needed a partner. So I sought another person out who I decided ticked all the boxes. So I met a Christian guy, and he had a stable job, and it again was just the most terrible decision. And I remember all of my friends saying to me, like, this is not going to work. You're not right for each other. And I didn't want to listen, because I just thought, well, this is what I should do. I need to get married. And I thought I was getting old because I was in my mid-20s. And so I finally decided, after a long time, I broke up with him, and I decided to give the pen to my love story to God, because he had a better plan than obviously I could ever have. And I'd made a right mess of my romantic life for years. So I decided, okay, God, you can take this one. You do it, because you'll do a better job than me. And at this stage, I had just finished my studies, and it was ending 2008, I'm pretty sure. And I discovered that I was actually completely in love with my best friend, who had been in front of my face for so long. And all of a sudden, this wonderful, joyous relationship started to develop. And years later, here I am, 7 years later, still married to the love of my life, my best friend, and pregnant with our first child. And finally I'm starting to understand that God has a much better plan than I could ever piece together.